All right, then welcome back to episode 9 of backtesting sessions. And I'm looking at the question of, is January worth trading? And this kind of stems from a couple of things. One of my mentors, he taught not to trade January with your funded accounts, your live funds, instead to trade them with evaluation accounts. Also, I've only traded one January on NQ before, and that was last January, and it was pretty dicey. So I'm looking back to 2024, 2023, and I'm trying to determine what's price action like. Is it worth trading, or is it better just to sit on your hands and do nothing? So, so that said, let's dive in. And I'm kind of changing up how I'm doing my back testing here. I did the very first week of 2024 in January, and I ended up down 1R. And I decided, as opposed to finishing out January of 2024, I wanted to do January of 23 and compare the first week of each of those. So I can kind of see the first week of January across a number of years, what's that look like? The second week of January across a number of years, what's that look like? So kind of going to break it down a little bit more, because as January moves on, price is going to probably get nicer. So I want to be able to compare week by week across a number of years. Now, that said, if you want to join my free trading Discord, there's a link below. Come hang out, ask questions, be a part of the community of like-minded and growing traders. As well, if you're watching this video like today as it's posted, or in the next day or two, Apex is having a 90% off sale on their accounts. It's one of the best deals I've seen in a long time. There's a link below. And lastly, I use TradeZella for backtesting and for trade journaling. It's a really great software. It does both very well. You'll get to see it here more in a little bit, but there's also a link down below. So with all that said, I guess let's dive in. We're going to start with the the January of 2023, the first week of that, and see how it compares to the previous January of 2024. So I'm going backwards in time, but 6 one F doesn't the other. It's all the same. So let me get my face hid, and we'll dive in. All right, so 2023, here is this session. And let's get situated now. Did I already, January of 23, I think I already might have flipped back. Oh, that's December through, so I do need to go back to January of 23. So let's check it out. So January 2nd is the Monday. That's a bank holiday. And it looks like we have non-farm, similar to the last January. So we can already kind of expect lower probability price action when it's non-farm. Monday, Tuesday are our high probability days. And then Thursday's a no trade day. Wednesday's an either or day. So let's see what we got going on here. We have Wednesday 10 a.m., Thursday 8:15, Friday 8:30 and 10 a.m. Okay, so let's get into the charts. We'll start off here on the weekly chart on NQ. All right, so look at this. Very different price action from last January, but we can see we're in a downtrend. Pretty easy to tell. So noticing this stop hunt here on the weekly chart, right here, this candle. Stop hunted there, and so we can assume that the draw on liquidity for the weekly is here. A bunch of trend line liquidity below, and I'm imagining so just wanting to see where's the 50% of this current dealing range. So we're down in the 50%. Does it mean it needs to go any lower? No, but it might. All right, so going on, oh, the weekly I wanted to look, we've already taken the, oh, I actually really, what I need to do is I need to get past the Sunday open. So let's mark, where's 9:30? Tuesday at 9:30, right there. We can do 1 hour candles too. Okay, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Okay, so let's zoom out now. All right, so that weekly candle is opened, and we've formed a weekly C2 after taking this liquidity right there, which is interesting. So a C2 candle, it closes back up above this candle's low, making this a C1, C2, and then expecting expansion or reversal possibly. So let's look down in here on the weekly. Curious if there's any SMT. So we do have bullish SMT at these lows. So let's zoom in a little bit. We can look at this dealing range right here from this low to this high. I still think it's bearish. This weekly gap failed, so I'm still bearish. On the daily chart here, took these two relative equal lows. It could retrace back up into this gap up in here. Right there, there's a fair value gap with a volume imbalance. Looks like it gapped up a little bit for the open. We also do have this fair value gap. So we use fair value gaps to judge order flow. So order flow is still bearish until this fair value gap is flipped. So still a little more bearish. All right, so on the 4 hour, 4 hour did have a change in state of delivery right here. So that's significant. Like that's, 4 hour change in state might mean it's wanting to potentially do a bit of a reversal, but we shall see. So we have these relative equal highs sitting up in here. So the 2 a.m. candle took this candle's high. And on the 1 hour, so 5 o'clock, right there, 5 a.m. So we have some gaps down in here. We do have some liquidity below. Look at the 1 hour. Change those settings on that indicator so it doesn't show up on me. Let's see. So no bullish SMT at these lows. Let's go to the 15-minute. And looks like the 15-minute. So London's continuing Asia's trend. There's this manipulation right here. We do have some nice relative equal highs right up in this zone. Okay, so kind of a mixed, I mean, the higher time frames bearish, but the medium time frames, the 1 hour, the 4 hour, they're starting to turn around and delivering bullishly. So we're kind of in this mixed zone where time frames are not really aligned. So let's zoom into the 1 minute, and there's 9. Oh, I need to mark my 12 a.m. For me, the 12 a.m. midnight open really does help me get my bearings. So we typically, if we're above 12 a.m. at 9:30, the way it works is you want to see price deliver towards 12 a.m. and expand past it. So if you think about the wick of a candle forming, this is the tail, this is the manipulation, and then it's going to expand further and then eventually close, kind of thing. And so that's how we use midnight open now. It's in context to everything else going on. So it doesn't always come back to midnight. Sometimes it comes back to midnight, retests it, and continues. Which we can see London is already continuing. So there's the possibility it could even do that today. But let's get clicking. All right, so kind of just grinding up pre 9:30 since 7 a.m. I'd like to see a little bit more of a consolidation. We took these relative equal highs right here, about 9:20. Okay, here comes the open. All right. So it did a nice little stop hunt. There's a 5-minute fair value gap. My rules to say 15-minute fair value gap for a trade, so I don't have anything I can do here. But that's a nice looking. On the lower time frames, it's a nice inversion breaker right here. Now it closed above this candle right there, so it might not even come back for this breaker at all. Sometimes what it does when you get like a 9:30 breaker formed, and it'll come over 1, 2, or even 3 breakers, make 3 breakers sometimes. Sometimes it just barely puts in a tiny wick and flies. So I don't have a trade here, but just curious, like, to see. What time is it? 9:33. And like you would want to use the whole gap probably, but what I've seen is it just barely even dips down and rips. So let's see what it does. But I don't have a trade set up here. I'm just kind of watching. So no good on that one. Okay, so possibly stopped out, but right. Dug deep down into here. There's no tail on this candle. All right, so 944 outside of macro. There was this inversion, but it was so far out of macro, I wasn't really interested. But it took the session high, so that's a high probability liquidity zone. And on this one here, I would have set a limit order back on this gap. It's a little small for me though, but I consider that no real trade opportunity. All right, price is distributing back to 12 a.m. So 1020. Here is this inversion. It's kind of against order flow. Boy, some equal highs. So these are high probability, equal highs. There is also some trend line liquidity down below, so that's not awesome either. 4 hour has no gap. 1 hour. 15-minute didn't close with a C2 candle. 5-minute didn't either. Is there any SMT? There is no bullish SMT, so nothing to do here. I can't take a trade. That's what it would be. It's also off against order flow, so right there, stop would have been a loss. So here was a inversion now. Tapped into this 15-minute fair value gap right there. And I'll remove that higher time frame fair value gap. But it didn't close below this inversion. I was kind of eyeballing it for the macro for a short, but didn't play out. It didn't play out in terms of timing and confirmation. So back out on the 4-hour chart, just kind of want to check, see where things are. Kind of just consolidating a little bit more. So yeah, I don't see anything I like here. There will be an inversion, but I'm not interested in the long. Consolidation and more sell side delivery. And we're coming up on noon, which is when I end my morning session. So here, we can zoom out. Let's go to 130. Mark out the lunch session. So the low and the high from 12 to 1, pretty much this. See if we get a sweep of one side or the other. So it swept the lunch high. Now it's probably coming for the lunch low, but well, there's some nice trend line liquidity right there. But then there's also tailless candle, tailless candle. Oh, wow, boom. So here's a 15-minute fair value gap. I was expecting more downside, more than anything. So we have SMT. No, no bullish SMT. So no trade there. And coming up towards 3 o'clock. And I typically don't trade past about 3:30. So here's an inversion, a stop hunt and an inversion, but nothing's looking good to me. So about 3:30 in the afternoon. All right, I think I'm going to call that a day. No trades. Let's take a look here, see if we missed anything. So obviously it was long down in here during lunch. So there was a trade during lunch hour, which I don't trade. It would have stopped me out. Well, maybe not. Maybe I would have done a stop down in here, given that how these bodies are. But we'll call that. I mean, that doesn't matter because I don't trade during lunch. This here gave no entry. And the same thing, no entry here. I would have set a limit order. I guess I could have taken the breaker. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. That's outside of macro. So no trades for me. I didn't miss anything. And so overall, what are my thoughts on this day? Like not great price action. Not the worst. It's not seek and destroy. There's not massive wicks everywhere, but there's lots of tailless candles, lots of volume imbalances. So I want to make note of that. Where's my, just don't know why it's doing that. There we go. What is this, January 3rd? All right, so here's where I record all of my trade days and just some basic information that helps me paint a picture. So on this day, there was no model. No model. What would have won? Nothing. Delivery was bearish and you know, not what am I? PA was not bad, not good. Which is kind of what I saw with that first week of 2024, similar kind of thing. So yeah, I'm really curious to keep going through this week and see how price presents itself, and if it's worth trading or not. So let's go to the next day. I just realized that I documented that on the wrong day. So that was actually right, not on Monday, but it was Tuesday the 3rd. Monday was the 2nd, I believe. Yeah, Tuesday the 3rd. All right, so let's go to the next session start. All right, zooming out. So Tuesday closed bearishly, leaving these relative equal highs. Looks like the current daily candle has opened up with no tail. Real quick, we do have 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. news. So go to the 4-hour chart. This is just kind of more of a consolidation to me. You see, since this candle right here, price formed these highs and lows, and it's just kind of doing a little bit of range. A little bit. It came down, it took this low, so it might go for external, these equal highs. But just that many candles is more of a consolidation. Let's see here. All right, so on the 15-minute, so here's the Asia session in the pink box. Looks like the London session in the purple here did manipulate into this 15-minute gap, and then it's kind of consolidating. So let's mark 12 a.m. Price keeps tapping into the 12 a.m. Not a great sign. So we got 9:30. We have 10 a.m. red folder. And then again at 2. All right. So looks like pre-New York already took London low. Just not getting a great read on this. So let's zoom in. Let's just play some candles and see what happens. Sometimes like it's about just letting candles play, letting price move to a different area. And then you'll get some signatures that make a little more sense to you. So a few minutes before 9:30, price is already moving. We do have some relative equal lows down in here, relative equal highs up there. All right, so 9:30 has been doing this a lot as I've been back testing, creating these 9:30 or 9:31 inversions like that. What's the SNNQ YM up to? So there is an SMT, but if it is short, I don't think I'm interested. Because here's this whole breaker, and this is kind of like the other day, yesterday. You know, maybe you placed a limit order on that breaker right there. Just let me just make sure I don't think I want to do anything here. I don't. This 15-minute looks... When the 15-minute chart starts to look like barcodes, that's one of my rules to stay out. So 3R right down in here. So that would have been a break-even trade if I did take it. So here's an inversion with a volume imbalance after sweeping a whole ton of lows. No 4-hour level. Well, there's a 4-hour inversion. This 1-hour gap has just been ran through a whole bunch. ES is looking more bullish. YM is looking more bullish. We do have, let's see here. Do we have any SMT? So we are forming a consecutive candle SMT, unconfirmed though. Here's unconfirmed bullish SMT. We have relative equal highs. London high is intact. So there's a lot suggesting it might go. We also just rejected off of this fair value gap. So I feel like this is a little bit of a gamble trade. The 1 hour is going sideways. It did take these equal lows. I would chalk this up to a trade I'm hesitant to take. I feel like if it was going to go lower, it would have rejected by now. So let's see what we got. Do we have any targets? Way up there. All right, so here this is let's so it's an ISVG with we do have SMT. We have 4-hour liquidity sweep, I believe. We'll check that. We have a 4-hour IFVG. It's in between PDs. That's probably one of my bigger hesitations is between this 4-hour and this 1-hour fair value gap. So the 1-hour fair value gap, 4-hour, but it did sweep liquidity. Took those equal lows too. Has trend line. So this is where I track trades that I'm super hesitant on. And at first it was not making sense to take any of them. This is one of those trades where I'm hesitant to take it, and we can see 42% of them are winners. So it's not a bad stat. We're in a macro. And it did take 4-hour liquidity. Maybe it's worth a stab. Uh, 40, 39. I know, right? I should be using minis, but I forgot again. Don't like that. Oh, okay. So we'll go break even on this fella. That's retested my entry and hit 1R, so we shall see. Okay, break even. Kind of starting to look seek and destroy-esque to me. Okay, so we manipulate, 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 and then go down. Seek and destroy. So what's the 10 a.m. right there? I don't like any of this. I feel like a lot of the inversions are doing this. They're outside of macro. And then they close way far away from the inversion. I keep seeing that pattern happening. Kind of just consolidating around 12 a.m. opening price. Now just floating up. So this one stage delivery, it did, invert this. I don't take these big giant inversions like this. They sometimes work, but in my experience, they're lower probability than just your normal V-shape inversion that does that. There's all this consolidation down in here, creating all these targets. All right, so coming up on 12 o'clock. We'll go to the 15-minute, and we'll go to 2 o'clock, or 1:30, I guess. 1:15. Looks like right there could have been the 1 o'clock reversal, could have been it. So maybe we'll stop already. It's into a 15-minute gap. 1 hour is looking like a barcode. So here, this is not good price action. Let's see what happens, but sideways. All right, the red folder, FOMC meeting minutes. It moves, but it's not like FOMC. So it sweeps all these relative equal highs, leaving these equal highs, comes down for sell side. And so here's another inversion. I just don't trust this at all. Look at that. So we've been stopped out. All right, so did I miss any trades today? Like this right here, this inversion played out 3R. But there's no 15-minute level. So no, not in there. I took that break even long. No entry for a short. No entry for a short. So very similar to price action I've been seeing. So today was no model. We had really nothing. That's not true. I took one. The delivery was seek and destroy, then bearish. Other notes, just similar thing. It's not terrible, but it's not good. The price action's not terrible, not good. So yeah, I'm gonna log this trade real quick. So real quick, I'll show you what I don't typically show you this, but I'll show you this time how I log the trades is, in the TradeZella dashboard, because this is whether it's live or back testing, it's all the same. So here's the break-even trade that I took on today. I'll come in here, I'll add my profit target stop loss in there. Let's see here, that was 11,083, and it already logs it for you in back testing. So the setup type was a 1 hour reversal. You can create all kinds of tags for the stats, and you'll be able to evaluate all this data later on. Kind of a dual bias. Liquidity type was swing and a fair value gap. Would I take it again? Maybe so. So the daily time frame, we're kind of bearish and unclear at the same time. Four-hour order flow, bearish. And then the 1 hour order flow was against that order flow. So you can add new categories, manage the tags within those. And then you come into your strategy. I'll load my strategy. It was a higher time frame level. It had SMT, it had a high probability target. It was in the macro. It had V-shaped momentum. It had multiple fair IFVGs and an imbalance. No smooth edges locally. So no breaker, and it did it have fair value gap? Let's go down. Where was the trade? It did have a fair value gap. And we can mark it as reviewed and then add an attachment. Let's see here. And that's how I document a trade in TradeZella. And then I have all that for reassessment later on. So let's get all this stuff cleared off and move on to the next session. Okay, so we're on Thursday. Yes, Thursday the 5th. So ADP non-farm, this is different than non-farm. Non-farm, ADP, you see non-farm right here. We don't really care about ADP a ton. Obviously, if you trade that time window, be mindful of it as a red folder, but ultimately, it's not anything that dictates how the week may play out or anything like that. But it is the Thursday before non-farm, so the chance, so this is going to be a lower probability session. We can zoom out a little bit in the daily. We're just seeing some daily consolidation right here. 4 hours consolidating, 1 hour's consolidating. All right, so on the 15-minute, that's just ugly. So here's 12 a.m. and then 9:30. And let's zoom in and see. So we got some trend line liquidity forming right there. Just kind of ugly. All right, 9:30. All right, so delivering towards sell side, continuing with the theme. More of a 9:30 order block model. I feel like that's what keeps happening in this price action. It forms an order block or an inversion and it just goes. It's like you could almost just take that without regard for anything else. So here's an inversion. I don't like it. There's all this consolidation in between and these lower these relative, they're not relative, it's more trend line liquidity. I'm not even interested in looking at this outside of MAC. It's the nut 1050. That one's ugly. Oof, it did tap into that 4-hour gap finally. And took all that 1 hour, but I'm not interested in this. We can just, I'll show you what it would be like. Wow. I would have gone break even. And oh wow, that would have been a winner. So I need to mark that for, here's a trade I hesitate. I'm gonna actually check to see if there was SMT. Because if there wasn't SMT, it wasn't a valid trade. With all these swing points, I'm guessing we can find SMT. Okay, so there was SMT. So I'm going to add that to... So I skipped it, and it was a winner. And I skipped it because of internal consolidation in the model and local liquidity below. But it didn't deliver very nicely. So it was pretty risky. I'll make notes of that. It was a... And I don't trade the Thursday PM session before non-farm. So price is just kind of going sideways and delivering bearishly. And 12 o'clock. So I'm going to call that a day here on this one. So I didn't take the model. Higher time frame is barcode. Delivery is kind of, what's the delivery like? Kind of Just bearish, kind of one stage bearish is what I would call that. So very bearish PA, which this is following suit with other time periods that I've noticed where PA is bearish. It provides no model for me. And then it provides an ugly long, or even sometimes a perfect long, that then is a break even or a losing trade. So kind of typical for this is a style of price action I'm used to seeing at times. And this is the kind of price action where our risk management skills become paramount and our discernment skills become paramount. There's been very few opportunities that I've seen in this week or the previous early Januaries that have back tested. So it's kind of starting to paint some patterns, which maybe we'll talk about that after we finish up this week and Friday, which is the next day that we have to do. So let's do that. Okay, so this is non-farm Friday. It happens at 8:30. There is a 10 a.m. PMI. So let's take a look and see what's going on. So zooming out, we can already see 8:30 non-farm. Let's actually zoom out a little bit more. So the 4 hours just barcode grinding down. Swept that low. And now it looks like it wants to form a change in state of delivery. And let's just see what ES. Oh, wow. Look at ES. Nice explosive candlestick there. Took these relative equal lows. Didn't take that low, but that's where SMT is, or we probably have SMT forming. I don't know if that's where it's from. YM's just sideways. So going back to NQ, I'm not marking up much. Oops, is that the weekly? I always see, that's where I forget to like zoom out to the weekly. So the previous week's low was taken, and so far it's an inside candle. It's just trading inside of there. All right. So here on the 15-minute, here's 12 a.m. Here's 9:30. Here's 10. So maybe if 9:30 popped down into this gap, maybe a long, maybe. The other important levels are the news high, news low. And let's just go clicky clicky. So news high was swept already. All right, 9:30. Little itty bitty inversion. Did tap down into that gap. I don't like how the news high is already taken. Not really any clear, great SMT. There might be like a PD array SMT, but I'm not so stoked about this price action that I'm gonna look for it. So I'm gonna let it go, whatever it does. I have a feeling it's gonna mess with people. So there's possibly 3R, possibly. Yeah, that was more than 3R, but there was no SMT, so I didn't have a trade. Shoot, I missed it. Possibly. No. There's a 5-minute. So here's a 5-minute gap. right here. And this is not part of my rules, so I wouldn't really do anything here. Is there any bearish SMT? There is bearish SMT forming. And so I missed it. Well, and it's not part of my rules, but right there, this little inversion closed below, still within the macro. Draw it out. And I have it on my list to consider adding in the 5-minute. I just haven't tested it enough. So let's see. There's, it would have been a W. But as far as following my rules, I haven't had a trade yet. No SMT on this one, and that one didn't have a 15-minute gap. All right. So it's leaving this new news low intact. It's closing above this inversion, but it's leaving some liquidity right there. And no gap. I don't like this. I'm not interested in this. So I probably would have marketed in on that candle below there. 3R would have been up here. I wouldn't be stoked. I would have gone break even on this trade. I would have closed it. Oh dang. So was that that was not even really a valid trade. There was no 1 hour. So that I'm not even going to consider that a valid trade. This is just not, there's no larger gap to base it off of. 1 hour, 4 hour, even a 15-minute fair value gap. It's just forming all this trend line liquidity down in here. So leaving this news low intact, at least on NQ. Looks like ES left the news low alone. YM left this. So there wasn't even any SMT. All right. So this high was taken. So just kind of have this one-sided delivery. It's on my list of stuff to do is to figure out, can I allow myself to take an order block when price is delivering like this or not? But that'll be in the future. I don't think there's going to be any trade setups here before 12. Okay, not really seeing anything. So we'll zoom out to the 15-minute. Let's mark out 130. And we'll go forward to 130. One more candle, sure. All right, back on the 1-minute chart, let's check out the lunch high and lunch low, which is basically 12 to 1. So I'll consider this it, and I'll consider that the low. I'm a little bit flexible on the time. This is the significant high for me. All right, so lunch session high was taken. Kind of just still one-sided delivery. At 2 o'clock. Got a series of gaps there, but I don't think I'm interested in a short. Hmm. No. Nope. Not interested in that. There's no gaps. So just one-sided delivery. One-sided delivery again is just when price does this. Makes a super solid trend line. So did I miss anything today? There was this retracement right in here. Equal lows. This here didn't meet all the criteria. There was no SMT. This here. Now I can't remember what I said about it. So the short I missed, but it was only a 5-minute model. So I don't really have rules for that. The long, I'm trying to remember. Let's look back. Well, I forget. There was probably some reason why I didn't take it. Maybe there was no SMT. I can't tell now because I can't see where this candle, or there couldn't have been SMT, so there was no SMT. All right, so that is the end of this week, which, wow, super exciting week. Let me tell you, if you can't sense my sarcasm. I'm calling that no model for the day. So here on the 5th, there was no model. Kind of ugly lower time frame. Higher kind of more bullish. So this was a bank holiday. So the themes. Gosh, not many clean setups for me. Not any order flow aligned setups. So that meant like if it's bearish order flow, there were no bearish setups to match that order flow. This is just a note for me. Like early 25. Higher time frame barcode. Better off not trading. So yeah. And we can kind of, so we can go to the dashboard. January of 23, like one break even trade this whole week. And that's January of 23. And comparing it to January of 24, let me pull that up real quick. Just quicker if I do it this way. But January 24, I took one loss and no trades the rest of the week. And what we have so you saw my notes here, not many clean setups, not any order flow aligned setups, higher time frame barcode, better off not trading. So that's my notes from 2023's January, first week of January. And then similarly, for 2024's first week of January, higher time frame was distributing only a few setups, lower quality PA, seek and destroy, better off sitting on hands. I wonder if I can highlight format. I don't know. text. There's conditional highlighting. Or here we go. I can do text, text color. I'll just make it red. Better off not sitting on hands. Better off not trading. So there's a theme so far. I'm going to be doing some more first week of January's here because I think as we roll into this first week of January, I think there's something valuable in this. So yeah, that'll wrap up this backtesting episode. And on the next one, we'll dive into probably January of 2022, and we'll do the first week through there and see if that's by any chance any better, or if it's kind of suggesting that for the first week of January, you're better off not trading. I don't know. We'll find out.